But thank you so much for taking the time and fitting me into your schedule. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Are you somewhere where you should be celebrating like a day off? Because it's Memorial Day, right?
It is, but this worked perfectly with my schedule. So I think you're brilliant and I loved the show. So I was like, yeah, whatever.
Oh, thank you.
I'll fit it
I'm in
in.
Toronto, so they don't care about
Oh,
Memorial Day.
okay.
So
So
we were working, yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, no, I was like, I'll make whatever work, planned my whole day around it. So
Awesome,
you're
man.
good. Yeah. Well, let's just get into it then. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but yeah. So first of all, I love Dr. Abbott. I think he's one of my favorite characters of the series. Um, when we first meet him, he's on the roof, famously. So how often do you think Abbott has found himself up there, or do you think that's the first time he's hit that point? What do you think about that
I,
moment?
I I had this discussion with Noah on the very first day because
Oh, okay.
that scene where we come down in the elevator is was my first. It was his first day too. It was my first day. And I was like, is he really going to jump or what do we, because I didn't know at that
Mhm.
time that there was going to be this full circle moment with him up there at the end. He probably did because he's a
Yeah.
writer and executive producer. Um, and I think we came to this sort of understanding that it's somewhat ritualistic for Abbott,
Mhm.
and no, it's not his first time, and he kind of goes up there to blow off steam, and
Yeah.
they've probably had this conversation a few hundred times,
Yeah.
um, which I thought was a unique way to look at it, and I embraced that. And for me, seeing the two characters mirroring each other and how it ended up in the end with Abbott then coming out there and seeing Dr. Robbie not only in his spot physically but also metaphorically, and it was just such a nice dynamic to see play out.
Yeah. Well, so I did have a question then. I know both of those roof scenes were kind of filmed in the middle of production before you really had the context for like his return and like what kind of happened later in the season. But I was curious then, like what the collaboration with Noah looked like to craft those moments specifically in those like an odd circumstance to just drop in, you know?
Yeah, sometimes actors have a tendency to over prepare and plan, and
Yeah.
this was one of those situations, having to jump in to a scene and without all of the context, which is not unusual for episodic television.
Hmm.
um, but I think the just the spontaneity of it, the being there with Noah, who was so locked in, having somebody like John behind the camera, I just accepted it as it was on the page. It became one of those scenes where planning wasn't part of the prep, and it was just sort of truth, and being present. Um, and having those two legends to bounce it off of was incredible. And I found I think the scene came out really beautifully. You know, it again. Here's a guy who is in the same exact position. You know. The other guy is in, and they're kind of mirrors of each other.
Hmm.
So it was not fair to have that scene like right there at the
Yeah.
beginning because it was my day too.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think as much as I'm saying it's not fair, it was probably the best thing that could have happened to me.
That's amazing. Well, so being that the show kind of unfolds in real time, we don't get a ton of room for backstory or exposition, and we do have a much smaller window with Abbott than the other characters. You talked a lot about like going just off the page. Like, was that kind of how you dove into this character, or like what direction were you provided to develop this character? Um, yeah.
He's Scott and John and Noah and I were kind of talking at the beginning, but
Mhm.
I think, and I'm pretty sure that everybody was given a pretty deep history of their characters,
Okay.
and that was similar for Abbott. eh, I knew how he sort of promoted his way up to becoming the attending. I knew a little bit about his history in combat. So and then I also knew, that even though in the first episode we as the audience are not fully up to speed with the fact that he's standing there on one leg, I knew that that was going to be something that was revealed later.
Mhm.
So, y- you know, the the biggest challenge for me was coming into a set later when I do show up in episode 12, and I'm kind of like all of a sudden supposed to be like this leading
Yeah.
expert on combat medicine and all these procedures and words that are like, very foreign to me.
Oh yeah.
So that was a bit of a challenge, and particularly because, first of all, Noah is so locked in and has
Hmm.
been doing this for a while, and he has a speed and pace that you need to keep up with.
Hmm.
And also the other, cast members have now spent 11 episodes, developing a rapport. So stepping into that and having to kind of be at the front and lead was terrifying, of course. But we figure it out, and by episode 13 I started to feel a little bit more
Yeah.
safe and secure.
Well, it wouldn't show that it was like a nerve-wracking experience. You fall into line flawlessly with everyone. I think you don't miss a beat. Um, which kind of brings me to my next question. I think Dr. Abbott has this amazing quality where he kind of can read his colleagues without them even saying a word. Like he's really good at meeting people where they're at, um, without needing to like connect verbally. How important was that then for you as an actor? You mentioned coming in when all these other actors had this rapport built. How important is that for you coming into a show like The Pit, middle of the season, middle of the chaos? You come in at a very chaotic time.
Yeah. I think the character is so expertly drawn. I
Yeah.
think he resonates. uh you're talking a little bit about his ability to just read people by looking at him, but also his calmness in the face of chaos. I think his upbringing and his experience as a combat medic has led him here. So he's very comfortable. I also think, he is the kind of doctor who is used to having to improvise on the fly.
Mm.
And so when he meets people like Santos, who's doing a Raboa, or when he is dealing with Samira, he respects this ability to see past the, you know, what the rules say, and go to where they need to go. It's a teaching hospital. He sees Samira as somebody that is capable and is, the smartest person in the room. Um, so like that moment where he's guiding her through the procedure with the pigtail catheter, it's it's pure Abbott. It's he's improvising in crisis. He's trusting his instincts, but he's
Mhm.
also using it as a teaching moment. And he doesn't like he knows she's capable, so he doesn't coddle her. He throws her deep into the deep end because he knows she can swim. And in that scene, he's telling her that you've got this, and more than that, you're the future.
Yeah.
So it's little things like that. And as you said, he doesn't he doesn't Abbott doesn't have a lot of words or screen time, but because of the way that the writers
Yeah.
drew him in that first scene on the roof where he's kind of questioning why he's there, not understanding in that moment after dealing with losing this veteran, which resonates deeply in him, and
Mhm.
sort of, as we learn later, is part of the hidden trauma that he holds. But even when he leaves Robbie with a letter. He leaves Robbie with information about the pregnant teen,
Yeah,
where he fudged information so that this young girl can get the abortion that she desperately needs. Um, and Abbott doesn't, Robbie doesn't even, they don't even have a conversation about it, but Robbie knows exactly what Abbott wants because they're so similar.
yeah,
And that writing, that, um, the exposition that's not needed when Abbott says, I was listening to a police scanner,
yeah,
he shows up with a go bag, all of that is a masterclass because, again, we've not seen Abbott for 11 episodes, but when he shows up, the writers have kept the balls juggling in the air. He's such a it's a it's welcoming to see him show up because the audience and Dr. Robbie know that we need him.
yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I loved you mentioning like the little de like the letter alone. Like I remember that happened and I was like, "Oh, I need this guy back. Where is he? He gets it." Um yeah, I think it's so intricately crafted. It's
It really
brilliant.
is. And the thing is, I only saw the first episode,
Mm,
right? So I knew that there was a letter. I knew that there was a guy named the Kraken, and I knew that there was a team that needed mifepristone.
mm.
But until I saw it on the air,
Oh, on the air. Wow.
I didn't know he wrote that Robbie read that letter. I didn't know that there was this whole story that
Oh,
occurred,
wow.
until I didn't even know it when I shot episode 12. I only found out about all of those things when I saw it when it aired.
That's that's crazy. It
And
must be nice then you could kind of enjoy it a little bit to an extent as a fan then, you
I
know.
totally.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I forgot when because I'm so briefly in the first
Hmm.
episode, Abbott disappears. And I loved that first episode. I
Yeah.
watched it on airplane with my iPhone as God intended, right?
Yeah.
With
Yep.
headphones. I'm kidding. I'm sure that the producers would hate me, but it had a profound impact on me
Yeah.
even in that setting. I was
Mhm.
crying on the plane, making sure, like looking around, making sure nobody was seeing me. But then like I kind of forgot that I was on the show for 10 episodes. I became a fan,
Yeah.
you know? And it was exciting. I got to go through it with
Yeah.
with the audience in the same way, and I was affected in the same way. And I what I was watching was it was resonating because I don't know, the show is about the medicine, and it's sort of it's the procedure of it is so important to how everything else happens,
Mhm.
right? The procedure and the medicine all informs what happens to our characters, and because it's so real, it just draws you in. And so I, as an audience member, was drawn into it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, I get to show up. And
Yeah.
then I was really and then Dr. Abbott, I'm there with my orange vest, and I'm looking at my wife going, if you have any medical questions, I'm happy to answer them for
I've got it.
you.
I've got it. Oh my gosh. That's great. Well, I'll be sure to hit you up if I have any questions as well. Good to know.
Yeah.
Um, I love his line, my therapist thinks I find comfort in the darkness. I think this show, as you were saying, like the procedure of it all, it deals with some heavy, challenging material. We cover a wide gamut of very topical things. Um, how do you, as an actor, then find comfort in the darker material surrounded by so much death and pain happening on the show?
Well, I think that's the big question for Abbott. When we meet him at the beginning, he says, as he's looking out over the roof's edge, I'm not sure why I keep coming back here. Um, and again, we don't know as the audience at that point that he's got all this uncovered, uh, emotional and physical trauma.
Hmm.
Um, but I think after this day and after his experience with Robbie up there and seeing in Robbie, here's a guy who's an equal, who who is suffering from some form of combat fatigue, which of course Abbott has seen before up close and personal. Um, it is through this experience that Abbott really gets an opportunity that Dr. Robbie doesn't. He gets to come full circle and go back up on the roof and say, um, I know why I keep coming back here. It's because we are the bees that protect the hive.
Hmm.
Um, it's not easy work, and not everybody can do it. But we can. And he's saying in that moment, I mean, there's something very comforting in finally figuring out what your purpose is.
Yeah.
He's trying to articulate that to Robbie, um, and he's also saying, Robbie, I see you. Um, you're in my spot.
Yeah.
I've been there. You're there. And I think when we get to the part about the comfort in the darkness, it is an opportunity for Abbott to say, I'm working on myself, and
Mm.
you may need to as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know where they're going with it, but
Yeah.
I hope that that's something that they continue to explore because it's important.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I also think like there's something to be said about the night shift, like the kind of, I think that Abbott is pretty committed to those hours, and there's a reason for that. There's a particular type of people that want to work at night. Um, Abbott is a guy who's addicted to the work. He's even listening to police scanners when he's off.
Hmm.
And I think that has a lot to do with his trauma. I think he's got some personal stuff that he doesn't want to have to be alone with. Um, so I think that sort of,
Yeah.
wraps him up nicely by saying, my therapist says I find comfort in the darkness.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I need to look into this night shift. I need more of the night shift. I hope we get a glimpse going forward. On a lighter note, I love your Twitter presence. It's incredible. Um, you tweeted, "Today I've been called a diva, a king, the people's princess, a legend, someone's dad, a teenage girl, and a senior citizen." Which of these labels do you most associate with Dr. Abbott and why? Where do you think he fits?
Dr. Abbott is none of those things and
Great.
wouldn't be caught dead going on Twitter. Um, it's funny because I used to have such a heavy Twitter presence.
Hmm.
Um, and then things happened and I went away. I sort of made the decision, and but I was getting a lot of requests to come back, and I kept seeing like screenshots of old tweets, and I got drawn back into it. And I have to say, it's been fun
Yeah.
because I always thought that it was, obviously it's used to spread information and news and all these kinds of things, ways to communicate, but I always loved Twitter as a form of comedy, and I don't take it seriously, and
Yeah.
and so it's been really wild to see, particularly a younger audience respond to
Yeah.
it. Some of it's positive, some of it's not,
Yeah.
but honestly, I do enjoy it, so
It,
I'm glad you
oh,
understand it.
oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Me and I have a few friends who like love the pit and will always a tweet will make its way into the group text every now and
Oh,
then.
good.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
fun. You're killing it. You get
Uh,
it.
okay,
Um,
good.
since you are online though, I'm sure you've seen the passion for Dr. Abbott. I feel like he's got a lot of passion from the pit heads out there. Their edits for him and Dr. Robbie, for him and Mohan. What do you make of the fervor for this character? Like what do you feel about that?
My gosh. I think it's hard to say what I make of it. I think do think that it is a character that I really love. And again, he's not he's his presence his footprint is small, but it has landed in a substantial way.
Mhm.
Again, because I think it's expertly drawn. I think also there's something very understated and real about him. When I started thinking about this character, I remembered this time where I experienced a guy who had a medical event happen at a basketball game where he was having a cardiac event, and the paramedics came in, and everybody around was freaking out, including me. And these guys strolled in, and it was like they were so efficient, and it was like nothing was happening, and they just took care of business, and it was they saved this guy. And I just remember thinking like that's who Abbott is,
Yeah.
and so I think that lands with people.
Yeah.
um and I also think that the show spends very little time dealing with the personal stuff, and so it's fun, I think, for the audience to kind of go in there and create these
Oh
like
yeah.
fictional things, which is cool, man. I look, we are experiencing a very special time for television. There's great stuff on TV and
Mhm.
streaming, and the way that we can interact with fans in a healthy way, it makes it all the more enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the Pitt community specifically has been really fun and passionate, but also I feel like respectful for the most part. It's been
Yeah,
fun watching that unfold week to week. I think
yeah,
it really grew into this big wave.
yeah. And let's be honest, a little insane.
A little bit, yeah,
Yeah,
and that's okay.
that's okay. A little insane. Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. Um, I just to I guess wrap it up. I love the moment of him encouraging Dr. Mohan to take a risk and fully backing her unequivocally. I guess I is there a moment in your career or maybe on the pit where you've had an Abbott backing you on something that was maybe deemed risky that you're looking back like, wow, I'm really glad I had someone in my corner there.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That's easy. For me, and it sort of is a full circle moment just because John Wells, who I auditioned, as a guest star for ER, in 2006.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting the role, and he directed it, and it was a great character. I played this a patient with multiple personalities. And since then, we've gone on to make some television that I'm pretty damn proud of. Southland, groundbreaking cop show, Animal Kingdom, wonderful, crime family, a murderer with some deep-seated mommy issues, Rescue High Surf, and now The Pit. And look, having somebody like John, uh, like you said, in your corner backing you has been, I don't know if where I'd be without him, to be honest, both as an actor and as a director. And I wholeheartedly um admire and appreciate, the the opportunities he's given me, both at creatively and as a friend. And I know that there have been times where people have said, "Oh, Sean can't play that role," and he's been there saying, he can do it. He's the guy. And look, I've never played a doctor before. There were times where when the opportunity came up, I doubted myself. I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, can I do this? My vision of what a doctor would be is shaped by what I've seen on TV, and I see very, like, intelligent, cerebral, perfectly coiffed guys. And I thought, "Well, I don't know if I can do that." But then I remembered it's John. Like, that's not what we do,
Yeah.
And I watched this documentary called Code Black, which was
Mm.
about an LA County ER. and it was so eye-opening. And I saw attending physicians who were like, get your hands dirty, working class types of guys who just happen to, have big brains, but they are. And I thought, I think this is my way in. And so because of that, because of John's belief, now I've, I've, I've found this character who, I wasn't even sure I could do. And it's that kind of mentoring that you're talking about that I'm so grateful for.
That's so special, like just to have like such a full circle moment, it feels like for you two, like very special. And I'm so glad he took you along for the ride because I think you are brilliant on the show. I think you're great. I think it all paid off. I know you said you were maybe like, how do I get into this? But like he's definitely at least one of my favorite TV doctors. Like I think you just did some brilliant work with him. So yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. That really does mean a lot. Thank you.
I'm glad you're receiving it. Like I don't just say it. Like I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. I love the show. I love you on it. I think you're great. I love a lot of your previous work up into this point too. So yeah, I'm really excited for you having this moment, and I'm really rooting for you, man. I think you're great.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're busy today. I know you are working. So I really appreciate you fitting me in. This was wonderful. Thank you.
You too, man. I really do love talking about the show. It's easy to talk to people, and especially people like you who've done their research
Oh.
and who have opened up Twitter and seen my ridiculous tweets.
Well, I'm looking forward to more ridiculous tweets in the future, and we'll tag you in the interview when it comes up.
Oh, I'll definitely post it. Thank you
Oh,
so much, Adam.
thanks, buddy. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.